everyone, and welcome to the second installment of our CEO interview series. My name is Alice Sherman. I am Executive Vice President and Managing Director of the Americas for HVS Executive Search. And I'm so thrilled to be here today with one of our amazing clients, my friend Jeff Wagoner, who has spent an amazing over 30 years in the hospitality industry and has served as CEO of OUTRIGGER Resorts and Hotels for over 6 years. So Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Alice. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So let's just jump right in. You have such an amazing career in the hospitality industry. Would love to know, who or what inspired you early on and sort of what was the deciding factor in choosing the hospitality industry as your career path?
It's really interesting, Alice. When you look back on my career in hospitality, I had absolutely no vision that this is where I would end up or the industry that I would be in. I played sports growing up, very competitive. But my mom actually worked for Marriott in the corporate offices in Bethesda, Maryland. And she retired from there after many, many years. So as you can imagine, I heard about Marriott every day in my life.
Right.
And it got me interested in the industry. And I think it early on got into my blood after, visiting the offices, being able to spend the time around Marriott, and then actually starting my career with Marriott, working in 5 different Marriott hotels across the U.S.
Incredible. You're such a great leader. We've heard so much from your team, having worked together with many members of your team, about what an incredible leader you are. How do you encourage your team and how do you encourage them to innovate and adapt and kind of work together as a team?
Well, that's humbling to hear that. And, it's one of those things that day in and day out, people matter and people's opinions matter. And, people talk about diversity a lot. And when I think of diversity, you also think of diversity of thought and
Right.
ideas. And, when you want to have a high performing team, it's important that they know that it's okay to speak up, that,
Yeah.
that their opinion does matter. And not only does their opinion matter, that you react and that you respond to those opinions. And to me, it's one of those things when you grow up in this industry and you know a lot about what happens day in and day out, you can very easily start to dominate conversations versus allowing others to express their opinion. So I do personally spend a lot of time making sure that I'm not kind of overreaching in my ideas and my thoughts versus making sure that I'm listening to others as well. There's a big world out there and it's changing in a pretty significant way. And it's really, when you think about, AI and all the other things coming on the scene today, you've got
Right.
to be a great listener because there's so much that's changing across our entire environment.
Right. No, absolutely. And what qualities do you look for in leaders and team members within your organization?
I think it kind of fits into that same bucket. You need to have people that aren't afraid to speak
Mm-hmm.
up. You need to have people that really want to be a part of a team and want to contribute to the greater success of whatever type of organization that you have out there. I had the opportunity to have lunch with John Wooden. And John Wooden, an incredible basketball coach at
Yeah.
UCLA,
Legend.
and yeah, for sure. And so this lunch I had with him, one of the things I said to him is I said, Coach, I believe people hire people like themselves. Do coaches recruit people like themselves? And he said to me, he said they do. And he said it's the biggest downfall of some of these coaches that everybody has to fit in a certain mold if they want to be on their team. And basically his comment to me was, I would have never recruited Bill Walton if everybody had to be like himself, meaning John Wooden. But he said, Bill had the qualities that he was looking for. He knew that he had integrity. He knew that he was hardworking, but he was very, very different than John Wooden. And he said, he would have never been on his team if everybody had to be just like him. So I think
Right.
that's a great example of you're looking for that thought diversity.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be very cautious in the hiring environment that you're not just looking for a lot of people like you, that you're
Right.
looking for people who are going to contribute, who are going to be smart, who are going to be resourceful, and who are going to help make your organization better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, diversity of thought, diversity of perspective, it's the only way to move forward, right?
For sure.
Yeah, awesome. So, what has been the most rewarding aspect of your journey with Outrigger so far?
I'm really proud of the talent that we've been able to attract. And you know this as well as anybody, it takes time.
Yeah,
And, if you're looking for a fast hire, I have to have somebody right now, there's a good chance you're going to make a mistake. To
right.
me, I've learned over the years that it's so important to get the right people and the right talent. And so we've been able to build a team here that I frankly love. I've worked for big organizations. I've worked, with Marriott, and I've worked with Wyndham, and I've worked with Starwood. And I honestly have incredible talent here, really sharp people that are here in Honolulu that we've been able to attract to the market who truly have the skill set to belong in any type of an organization, hospitality organization. So I'm really proud of our team and what we've been able to develop here at Outrigger.
Um, for those aspiring CEOs out there that are listening, what advice would you give them if they're trying to make it as a CEO in the hotel industry and if that's their ultimate goal?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that is interesting about being a CEO and being in this type of a role is that you need to, leadership is a big part of it, but leadership is not necessarily just telling people what to do.
Mm-hmm.
It really is being someone who has the ability to, like I said earlier, be a good listener. I worked for Eric Danziger for many, many years, and Eric used to say all the time, "You've got two ears and one mouth, and you should use them in that proportion." Well, that's definitely a CEO lesson that you should, and you've got to value your team. You have to respect your team, and you have to make sure that you're really supportive of them and helping them grow as well as individuals within their roles. But to me, this is a people business, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I talk about within our team here is I want people to wake up in the morning in our environment, in our office, in our hotels, and I want them to can't wait to get to work mentality or have that kind
Yeah,
of a mentality. And I think that only starts if I start it. And
right.
if my team feels that way, that our direct reports to me, then I'm hoping that filters down within the organization all the way into our hotels. But I actually have to say that message. And I tell people, I want people to wake up every day and say, I can't wait to get there. And
Mm-hmm.
if their opinion is not valued, if they can't speak up, they're not going to think that way. They've
Right.
got to know that when I get there, my work will be meaningful, I'll be respected, and I'll be a great part of the team.
Yeah, awesome. Great advice. Let's talk a little bit about strategic vision for that Outrigger has and that you've led. A very hot topic nowadays is sustainability and environmental responsibility. And I know that's huge for Outrigger being, always in kind of these beach destinations. So how do you prioritize sustainability and environmental responsibility in your operations and within your properties?
Alice, it's a big deal for us, as you can imagine. You see this property behind me here out in the Maldives, and a lot of our properties or all of our properties, quite frankly, are in a beach destination. So we
Mm-hmm.
do spend a lot of time on sustainability. We spend a lot of time on ocean health and ESG. When you look at the E and the S and the G, a lot of people spend a lot of time on the E, which is going to be environmental. And in
Mm-hmm.
an urban destination, that may be utilities and utility costs.
Right.
We look at that, and those are important elements. But we also really look heavily at ocean health. You look at sea level rise is a big issue
Mm-hmm.
today, and how do you tackle those? How do you help and support those? So, in one of our properties in Fiji, we actually grow coral. So
Right.
we've got little plates or pucks that we were able to grow coral at our Fiji property. We've got another property where we actually created a school. They didn't have a school in this particular market for kids, and we actually helped create the school in hammers, nails, the whole works. And so, to me, sustainability and community is a big part of any great organization, and we spend a lot of time and effort around those two elements.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, it's so crucial, and what you guys are doing for the environment and the world and those communities is really special. You touched on this a little bit with that piece, but beyond that, what else sets Outrigger Properties apart from other hotels in the market?
We actually have some core pillars that we like to center ourselves around. We are only a beach or beach community brand, which
Mm-hmm.
does make us different in itself. But at the same time, we've got iconic beach bars at every one of our properties. So we've got Duke's and Hula Grill and Maui Brewing Company. So we've got some
Mm-hmm.
really iconic beach bars. We have live music at every single one of our properties, no matter where you are across the globe. So for us, having a little bit of DNA that's going to be common across all of our properties is very important, we think, to our success. And the other piece that it drives is the consumer experience. The consumer now knows what they can expect. I remember my early days with Marriott, and people would say, "What makes Marriott different?" Well, you knew exactly what you were going to get. You were going to get a certain quality, a certain cleanliness. You were going to have a certain amount of food and beverage that was on property, and you could
Mm-hmm.
on something, an expectation that you had. We feel like we create the same thing within a resort destination, but there's a unique element to it that I think is pretty special. And it's we don't try to take Hawaii to Fiji or Hawaii to Phuket.
Right.
Each one of our property locations, we value the people there and the history of that particular location. And that's what we try to communicate to the customer that may
Mm-hmm.
visit us at any one of our properties across the globe.
That unique identity, but still being able to say this is an Outrigger resort, and there's things that carry it through it is so great. Moving on a little bit to the guest and their experience, how do you gather guest feedback? How do you incorporate that into your operational strategy and into, making improvements or continuing to do the things that are working well?
Alice, this is kind of goes back to the world's changed, and
Right.
back in the day, you had guest surveys on paper, and you'd put them
Right.
through some device to be able to count them all up. The world has changed. You think about all the different reviews that are online today, whether they're on Expedia or whether they're on Agoda, or whether you have them on social media platforms, whether they're on TripAdvisor. You've got reviews everywhere, and there are tools today that aggregate all those reviews. So the amount of data and information that you truly have today on the customer experience is significantly greater than it was before. And so those tools actually, when it pulls all this information together, can give you, word bubbles, and so you can very quickly know, hey, I've got a bedding issue at this particular property, or I've got a service issue at this particular property. And so we utilize all of those tools. Any of the larger brands that are out there that have those, we have all those tools too. And it really does help to be able to make sure that you're creating the type of experience that you want for the customers. When you look at AI and all the other technology that's on the scene today, I think it's only going to get greater. Social media has become 10 years ago, when you looked at social media, it was really difficult to track if it was driving room nights, if it was influential in any way. Now we know
Hmm.
it. And now you can track better what happens via social media, whether it's Instagram or X or Facebook. All of those tools now have bolt-on tools that can help you understand what's really happening through your site. So the world has changed quite a bit. It's incredibly helpful for us, and it's going to make the consumer experience better because we're able to more quickly react to any needs that we see that a property or a brand may need.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Great. So now I'd love to chat a little bit more about kind of the industry as a whole. maybe you can walk us through some of the biggest challenges that you think the hospitality industry is facing right now, and how Outrigger specifically is addressing those.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick one of the biggest things that we're all still wrestling with in the industry, and not everybody's probably thinks this way, is COVID. And
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, we've all figured out how to deal with it. But when you look at the return of business into certain markets, it's not back everywhere yet. Or there may
Right.
have been surges in different locations, or we may have inflation issues that we're still wrestling with, or we may have wage issues that we're still dealing with. And so I don't know that we have, in essence, sorted out the all of the COVID effects
Right.
on our industry. When you look at the return of business coming out of China, it has not come back significantly yet. It has in
Mm-hmm.
some locations. It's starting to come back, but not the same way. You've got geo sources now going into different markets than they went into before. You've
Mm-hmm.
also, so when you think of geo sources, you think of a India or Russia, and you've got
Mm-hmm.
the Ukraine and Russia war still happening today, or conflict happening. And so that's creating business changes
Right.
and geography changes. When you've got Japan and you've got a currency issue against the US dollar in Japan, as well as the subsidies that happened in Japan during the pandemic, got people comfortable with traveling domestically instead of traveling internationally. So all of these elements are still at play, and they're all still changing over time. So I think that for me, um, making sure that top line revenue is back in a robust way is critical to any business, especially to the hospitality industry, and still trying to figure out how to drive those sources back, when they're going to come back, are there new sources that you need to go after, is a critical piece of the success of our industry moving forward.
Absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about technology. I mean, how do you see it shaping the future of hospitality offerings? How do you see it not? I mean, we're a people business, right? So tell me a little bit about kind of your insights there.
So I'm glad you said that, because when you go into the technology discussion, it can be robust, and there's a lot happening. People are talking about robots now,
Right.
and it's great. But when you think about AI, which has just jumped on the scene, AI is um, one of those things that there's no doubt that it's going to help us as an industry in a pretty significant way. The ability right now, we used to have a pretty static call tree when you called a contact center, and you press one for this and two for that. And
Mm-hmm.
today in that environment, you literally can ask questions and get really robust answers back within a contact center environment, which is very, very helpful. But at the end of the day, our industry is a people industry. We're called hospitality for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we lose sight of that a lot. And we talk about the technology piece, but I have to tell you, the greatest experiences that I have in traveling to any resort is the interaction that you have with people, the
Right.
support that you have from people, the proactive nature of some people, before you arrive. And some of
Mm-hmm.
that can happen via technology. But at the end of the day, that interaction with an employee at a property, whether it's a room attendant who's just incredibly special and hospitable, or a front desk individual, or a bell person, when you start thinking about those really, really special employees at some of these properties or resorts, to me, that makes my day.
Yeah.
And I think it does for a lot of people. And it creates memories to want to go back to those locations. And I think
Right.
we've got to make sure that we marry technology well with the people experience, the employee experience, in order to really have great properties moving forward.
Yeah. I would love then to talk a little bit more about kind of your experience, as you've grown up in this industry. Was there a defining moment that really kind of shifted your career or your personal life, and how did that moment shape who you are as a leader and who you've become today?
I think that if I were to look at a defining moment, there's probably honestly some of the really negative things that have happened in the world. When you think about a great financial crisis or when you look at COVID, those things really are, you don't have a playbook. I've worked for several companies. I've worked in a lot of different hotels. I worked in 14 different hotels during my career growing up, but nothing gets you prepared. And there's no playbook for something like COVID where you're
Right.
shutting down completely. And I think those are the times that really define you as a leader. And do you have the ability to rally the troops? Do you have the ability to pull people together? Do you have the ability to make the tough, hard decisions that you have to make during those types of circumstances? And, when you think about, I was here in Hawaii during COVID, where we literally were shut down.
Mm-hmm.
The streets of Waikiki, there was not a soul. There wasn't cars, nothing, no tourists at all. And you really have to, you've got people that have no work. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very, very difficult time. And so you have to be compassionate, but you also have a business to run and you
Right.
have no income. And so those times, I think, really as a leader help define you on how you respond and react from a shareholder perspective to owner perspective to whatever customer environment might or might not be there, all the way to the employee environment and how you handle those things. So I think as much as those are very difficult times, I think they really help to create and define leaders and probably stretch your thinking and your ability to really figure out how to do things the right way, which is never wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, every challenge, if looked at, in the right way, can lead to growth and to learning something new, right? It doesn't always feel like that in the moment, but hopefully that's the silver lining that some good will come of it.
That's true.
Um, so if you could go back, knowing what you know today and all of the things that you've done, what piece of advice would you give your younger self?
This is a funny one. I think that there so many people today talk about when you're young, save money. This isn't even
Right.
about the hospitality industry. and it's so true. And we were in an environment recently where we were talking about savings through a 401k in our company. And we wanted to know, we did the math on if, with what the company provides through a 401k and a retirement plan, if someone executes it correctly, they get the appropriate returns like the market does, and they're here 35 years, how much money would they have? And there were probably about four people in our company that had that amount of money. And
Hmm.
it's because people either are not saving or they're taking a loan out on their 401k early and they're having to replenish it, and they can't get disciplined enough to save. And the amount of savings that you would have for retirement, if you can just stay disciplined with that,
Hmm.
becomes significant. And I think if I were to look at my own personal younger self, it would be, how do I, number one, do that? And then
Right.
number two, how do I make sure that I'm educating people how important that is, young
Hmm.
people today? And so I think that, as much as it's not even a hospitality type thing, and I think it's really important that we're educating the youth today on how important it is to just save and to ensure that you've got whatever you need for the future when you decide to retire.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. That was a lesson that was drilled into me from a very young age by my parents, and I'm very grateful for that because not everyone has someone to tell them that, and it is so important.
Make a big difference for sure.
Yeah. Um, well, we're in the hospitality industry. We get into this because we have a passion for it, right? Most people don't just stumble into it. So I want to know, what is your absolute favorite travel destination in the world?
To me, Italy's special, and it's such a unique spot that I always enjoy traveling. And I also feel like I never get enough of it. Every time I go back, I'm learning something new about such an incredible place.
Yeah, Italy is amazing. I remember last time I was there, we were taking a tour of this beautiful cathedral. I don't even remember where it is because there were so many of them. But the tour guide was talking about, when it was built and how amazing it was, and then pointed over to this one wing and said, "Don't worry about that wing. It's only 700 years old. It's really not very special." And I said, final question, what is the most incredible hotel you've ever stayed in?
There's a hotel here in Hawaii that's relatively new. It's an old St. Regis, and I shouldn't say an old, it was a St. Regis. It's now
Hmm.
the one hotel in Princeville. And, Barry Sternlick and their team went and created this brand, and it's very deep into sustainability. I don't know how much they spent on plants at this particular hotel, but, it's plants and flowers everywhere, incredible stone, incredible art, just a really fabulous transformation from a St. Regis, which has good bones, to something that was really unique and different. And I had the opportunity to stay at the property, and the service level was just off the charts. But the feel, the amount of greenery that is throughout, whether it's in the lobby or in the corridors or even out in the pool and recreation areas, is really second to none. It's a great property, and I really would encourage everybody to get out here and see the One Hotel in Princeville. Here I am doing a commercial for a hotel that's not even one of mine.
I was gonna say, you got me excited. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. But I'm going to that outrigger in the Maldives too. There's no way I can miss that. It looks spectacular.
Please stop by Outrigger along the way.
Definitely will do. Awesome. Well, Jeff, it's been so much fun talking with you. We always have the best time, and yeah, I really appreciate it. I think you've given so much great insight, so many amazing things for the people in our industry to think about, and you always make me laugh. And it's been great working with you, and been great chatting with you today. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Allison. Thanks for all you do as well. I mean, this is an industry of all of us working together to create great success. So thanks for what you do and the entire team at HBS. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jeff.